Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Boker Tov. Good to be here on a Shabbat morning having a Hebrew class. This is lesson number 6. We're going to practice a little bit of how to write out in what we call Hebrewish the syllables that we learned last week. Last week we learned about 1 syllable, 2 syllable, 3 syllable, 4 syllable words. Even we looked at a 5th syllable like Yerushalayim. We looked at that one. So today I've given you a handout that will take us through the letters A and B, or Aleph and Beit, with vowels. So what we've learned to do is create a syllable with the formula C plus V, consonant plus a vowel. So what we'll do right now is we're going to just quickly rehearse our alphabet. So everybody get a page, at least any one of your pages that has the list of the alphabet, like that one right there you can use. And we're going to go through the Hebrew letters without any final forms, just the 22 letters, and then we'll quickly go through our vowels just to review, okay? So we'll do every 5, quick breath in between till we get to the last 2 letters, and we'll just say the last 2 by themselves, okay? All right, 1, 2, 3. Aleph, Beit, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zayin, Chet, Tet, Yud, Kaf, Lamed, Mem, Nun, Samech, Ein, Pei, Tzadik, Kuf, Resh, Shin, Tav. Okay, very good. Tov Me'od. Let's do our vowels. We're using the Mediterranean or Middle Eastern vowel known as a Spanish vowel, A, E, I, O, U. So we'll do that 3 times, okay? A, E, I, O, U. A, E, I, O, U. A, E, I, O, U. All right, so the A, E, I, O, and U is A, E, I, O, U. Now let me pray for you now that we've done a review. Father, we thank you this morning, Avinu Malkeinu, our Father and our King, for blessing us with the hunger and the knowledge to really read, study, and speak your language, Lashon HaKodesh, the holy tongue of Ivrit, Hebrew. Father, I thank you for each student, the Talmidim today that are learning how to not only write Hebrew, but how to pronounce Hebrew. And today, as we learn about the syllables and how to recognize them with the Hebrew letters and their vowels, we pray, Lord God, you would bless each one with an ability to retain the information. In Yeshua's name we pray. Amen. Amen. All right. So as we looked at last week's handouts, we looked at the vowel system of one consonant with a vowel. We considered it to be a formula that we can use, C plus V, which equals an open syllable. And then we use the formula C plus V plus C to equal a closed syllable. Okay? So today we're going to take a look at this Hebrew lesson. Some of you already kind of started working on it. Let's see if we can go through some of these vowels attached to the letter Aleph. Now, does Aleph normally have a sound in and of itself? No. It's one of the 2 silent letters. There are 2 of them. The first letter in Hebrew, the 16th letter of the alphabet. So we have Aleph and Ein. Both of them look like an A, but they could be any sound based upon the dots and dashes underneath, what we call nikud vocalization, the vowel points, okay? So the vowel pointing is added by the Masoretic text writers, what's called the Masoretes, and they gave us a system of dots and dashes underneath, and we looked at the various vowels. In fact, let's review a little bit. Let's do A, E, I, O, and U. Okay, from right to left, the longest A sound is the kamatz, looks like a little T. Next to that would be one line, patach, and then patach chatef, which is with a shavah, looks like a little colon. Back way, please. Please go through the other way. And then we have, that's the three basics for the A sound. So if we see lines, we normally know it's an A vowel, correct? Yeah. Then we have the multiple dots, like multiple eggs, that we have 2 dots side by side. Serei, that's an E sound. Can someone let that person know they can come around the back? I think they can't come in at all. Whoever can get around there the quickest, can you just let them know they can come around the back? Okay, now, 3 dots in a downward triangle is also an E sound, but we have the long and medium, and then we have 5 dots, which is the same as the medium sound, the sagol, with the shabbat next to it. So it's 5 dots in a triangle, and then what looks like a colon right next to it. So it's 5 dots. And then we have the shortest possible E sound, which is just the shabbat next to it, the 2 dots that look like a colon. Okay? So we have long, medium, short, and then the reduced E sound, the shortest possible E you can ever make. But notice that if there's multiple dots, you always have an E vowel pronounced E. So we have A, E, E, O, and U. Okay? Now, what do we do for an I vowel?
I don't know.
We have only 1 dot, because just like the letter I means, I, myself, by myself, I have 1 dot by itself, either with a yud following or just the dot in the same position without the yud. Okay? So a dot underneath the letter followed by a yud will just give us a long E sound and then a dot by itself. Okay? Which is a little bit shorter. Now, we have the O vowel, which we usually make a vav and put the dot on top. And we said the dot on top of the vav changes it from a V to an O. This is the letter vav, 6th letter of the Hebrew alphabet, vav. But the dot on the top, we should remind ourselves by saying, oh, look at that bird in the sky. And that'll remind us of that. And then there's also the dot floating in the air all by itself without the vav. And then sometimes, very rarely, we could use a kamatz or a kamatz with the shabbat next to it. You move that over low. These are rare exceptions where what would normally be an A sound would be an O. Those you're just going to learn and memorize. There's really no rules, it's just to learn the exceptions, okay? Now, we know that the vav can also be used to make an U sound by taking the dot from the top and putting it on the side, like a woman's purse. Ooh, look at that beautiful purse on that woman's side. And so the vav with the dot on the side is an U sound, or we can use 3 dots going diagonal, like that. So we have A, E, O, U. Lines are usually an A sound. Multiple dots look like egg. So we have the S sound, 1 dot by itself. It's like 1 I by itself, I by myself. We have the E sound from the I vowel. And then we have the vav usually for the O and the vav usually for the U, depending on whether there's a dot on top or dot on the side. Okay? So now let's take this letter Aleph, and why don't I, for respect to Hebrew, do it right to left. Okay? And we'll go through this first one. Here we have the top underneath it. What sound is that? Ah. So the consonant Aleph has no sound by itself, but the moment you put a line underneath or a vowel point underneath, the nikud vocalization, all of a sudden it's like a shofar that has no sound till you blow it. So the Aleph and the Ayin are both silent. They're like a silent shofar, a ram's horn. As soon as I put wind to the instrument, it now makes a sound. That's the way the Aleph and the Ayin work. So if I put one of these lines, I already know, depending on length, it's going to be an ah sound. The difference is which one is underneath the letter determines how long we sound it. The longest ah would be ah. Then we'd have ah, and then we have ah, and so ah, ah, and ah. We have long, medium, or short. In this case, it's a medium sound, ah. It's not ah, it's ah. If I put the shaba next to it, making it chatef, that means I'm shortening it. All of a sudden, it's ah. Okay, so we have ah, ah, and ah. Okay, any questions? Okay, so we have here the Aleph, we have an ah sound. Now, we do the same thing with an Aleph with a kamatz underneath. What is that?
A.
Ah, very good. It's an A vowel. Ah, so we went from ah to ah. Ah, right? Okay, let's do the next one. What is that? Ah. Very good. Ah. So we have ah, and ah. All we did was we took a medium length, we lengthened it to large, and then we have the shorter form. Okay? The next examples they give actually change the vowel sound. We have a say right here, 2 dots side by side. What is that? 2 dots side by side. Multiple dots are always like little eggs.
It's an egg.
So in the moment you have multiple dots, they should remind you of eggs to make the eh sound. Multiple dots are like eggs that remind you of the S sound. 1 dot should think of like I by myself. 1 dot by itself, it should remind you of an E vowel. So you go from E, from the E vowel to the I vowel. Multiple dots is an E vowel. 1 dot by itself is an I. Just like I refers to one person, right? I myself. Everybody clear on that? These are just little techniques to help you remember. Multiple dots are an E because it's like eggs. Eh, eh, eh. So the moment you see multiple dots, think eggs, and you'll have the right sound. Eh, eh. Right? You don't say eggs. I'm going to eat some scrambled eggs. I'm going to eat some scrambled eggs. Eh, eh, eh. Okay? Now, we have the say rate, which is the longest possible E sound, so it should sound like what? The longest possible E sound? It should sound like eh. Very long. Eh. Okay?
Oh, long, yeah.
A long E. Because remember, going from right to left, this is the longest to the shortest. Always written from right to left. Because that's the way Hebrew is written. Now, let's add a different sound here. We have the sagol underneath, 3 dots in a downward triangle. What's that one?
Short.
Eh. Eh. It's medium. We went from eh to eh. And then we know that we could actually have the shortest possible, or one shorter would be 5 dots, and that would be eh. And the shava is almost not there at all. In fact, most Israelis would just eliminate the S sound altogether. Like the word for righteousness or charity would be tzedakah. They would say stakah. Stakah. And you'll see people asking for money in the streets of Jerusalem. Stakah, stakah, stakah. We know it's tzedakah, it looks like tzedakah, right? Which we pronounce it tzedakah like Neil tzedakah. So, you can see that Hebrew name, tzedakah. Okay? So, here we have the letter Aleph used in 5 different ways, but really 2 vowels with different lengths. An A vowel and an E vowel. You see how Aleph is silent until you give it its sound. Okay? Now, let's go to the next line. We're using Aleph again. And we're putting 1 dot underneath it. What should I think of when I see 1 dot by itself? I should think I, like I myself, by myself. How do you pronounce I in Hebrew? E. The same, the Spanish, the Italian, the French, the Portuguese, the Romanian, the Mediterranean languages, the Middle Eastern languages. Everybody uses this type of vowel system, A, E, I, O, U. It's Americans and English, the English that have a different sound. So most of the known world uses this vowel system. The only reason it's a little foreign to us is where most of us have learned the American way or the English way of speaking where the vowel system changes. And even the letter I can be used to sound different, and the letter E can sound different, and all the vowels can sound different depending on the word. It just depends on the combination of letters. Okay? So what sound is this? E. E. Very good. Okay, let's do...
Good heavens.
Now an Aleph with a dot underneath, Hirik, followed by Yud. Hirik, Yud. Well, it's actually E. It's long because the moment I take that I vowel E and I add the Y sound of the Yud, E, Y, E. You hear the Y when you say E real long? E. My. Y. Y. Right? Because in English we have A, E, I, O, U, sometimes Y. Well, we know Y is like I. So think of this I and this Y together as one sound, one long E. Like my. When you're like my daughter, that's mine. All right. And then we have an Aleph with a dot floating in the air. What is that? That's an interesting one. Aleph with a dot floating in the air. Now think of, where's the dot floating in the air in here? It's the U sound of the vowel O. So we have a U sound. I could have had a vav here, but in this case, it's just the dot by itself. Okay? Now, the next one actually is the vav with the dot by itself. I mean, a vav with a dot on top. And so we have Aleph and vav. Now, normally, this vav would be a V. But the moment you see a dot on top, that makes it an O. It changes sound from V to O. If I move the dot to the side, it changes it to U. Okay? Now, let's do question. Okay, let's do an Aleph with 3 dots. Downward angle there. Or downward perpendicular sound. We have a U sound. Okay?
In order to change it to an O, it always has to have the vav and the dot.
The vav or the dot. The vav and a dot or the dot by itself.
It can be an O.
Oh, you're saying to change this to an... if this didn't have a dot, it'd be a V.
Yeah.
If this has a dot here, it's an O. If it has a dot here, it's a U. So you have to remember the difference. The dot on top makes it an O. This is just a way to memorize sounds. If you didn't have any nukud vocalization markings, the vowel point, you would have to guess. And you would learn just like a child does. Certain words are pronounced certain ways. I before E except after C. You're just going to learn those rules, and you'll learn certain words are sound certain ways.
So the vav just goes away. The vav sound.
Right.
It's not that it goes away. It changes to, because the vav always changes depending on combination of letters.
Okay.
If I use the vav for the word and, I say in the blessing, Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha uvechol nafshecha uvechol meodecha. The uv is actually ve, and. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and your soul and your might. But because of the combination of letters, the V changes to a U sound. Okay? So we see that when we see that vav, we're going to know that it's either a V, it's going to be a O or an U, depending on if there's a dot on the top, or a dot on the side. Okay? All right. So we have this one. What sound is that? Ooh. Now somebody tell me if that has their Hebrew book, then I don't have any extras today for new people, but I will bring them next week. What length is that one?
It's a medium. It's a
it's
Short here.
It's a medium.
it's a short.
It says short here on
Yeah.
mine, but
So it would be what I call a medium, because in that listing, what they do is they call it long, short, reduced. I use long, medium, short. I add a different. I give the short one really a medium because the reduced, I don't like saying reduced. I want to say that it is short. Okay, so long, medium, short. Okay, so we see here that this is a medium sound, so it just be ooh.
Ooh.
Ooh. It's not ooh, but it's ooh. Okay.
Is it?
Now, let's go to the next line. We have the Aleph again, used as a stationary letter here, just for an example. And then we have a Vav with the dot on the side. What is that one?
Ooh, a long ooh.
Ooh, very good. It's a long ooh sound. So the next one, we're going to change letters. We're just going to go to the second letter of the Hebrew alphabet. We know the dot in the letter of the second letter, bait, keeps it as a B sound. If there was no dot, what would it be sound? What would it sound like? A V. Like Abraham is really Avraham. Avraham. Abram is Avram. Because when you spell the name, there is no dagesh in the middle of the letter. This dot is called a dagesh, okay? So this vowel underneath here is a patach, just like this aleph had a patach underneath it. What sound do we have? Yeah, so you should actually be writing out on your page the letters B, A, Ba. That's kind of how you practice that. You write out the sound. So over here we had what? We had, you could just put ah. You could either do this if you want, just so you can phonetically see it. Again, ah. We had eh. And then over here we had E. And then here we had O. to do, probably the two O's like we've been using. Ooh. We also have a ooh here. Now, the moment we have actual sounding consonant, now let's start using the consonant. We put B for the consonant letter and then the ah sound. Ba. And we won't use the H, don't need it. Ba. Okay? So let's look at do the next letter. Letter bait. Now we have what? A batak underneath. She made comments. Thank you. Comments, yeah. So now, again, we have the ba sound. But what's the difference in this one? Sound this one for me. Ba. Sound this one. Ba. Very good. Okay, so we have ba and ba. Okay? Now, if we go to the next one, letter bait, and we have the batak, chatef. Now what are we sounding?
Ba.
Ba. Very good. Ba. So all of these are ba. And now we're going to change vowel sound. And what are we going to have? We're going to have sere underneath. And we're going to have consonant letter B, but what vowel am I going to have?
It's a
Be.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's better.
Because that's sere, 2 dots. Remember, multiple dots is like eggs. Eh. So it's be. So B-E is be. Question?
I thought it's a long.
Doesn't Hebrew, do you ever have any like
Yeah, you're right. Long be.
two vowels next to each other or not?
2 vowels. Yes, you can have 2 vowels, but you're not going to have 2 vowel markings. You're going to have a vowel and a consonant that, I'll have to show you an example. Ha'ale or ha'ola. I have the ah sound of ha, and then I have ola. How that would be written is ha, and then I have actually, I think there's a vav in there.
There's an H.
So here we have ha, and we have o, la. The ola is the burnt offering that goes up. This root comes from the same word as aliyah, to ascend, to go up, to arise. So, which I just feel like I want to check my Hebrew on that to make sure I'm spelling that right. Technology. Let me show you some technology. Here's the Torah scroll.
Wow.
So if I go to Parsha, let's see, let's go to the book of Leviticus, Vayikra, and just check our Hebrew. And we want the Olah offering, which would be the portion of Vayikra. And Vayikra el Moshe, Vadaber Adonai, Elav Mo'ohel Mo'ed, Lemor, Daber el Bnei Israel, Ve'amarta, Alehem, Ki. Get to that. There is no dot. Kind of what my brain was thinking.
Is it apostrophe?
All we're going to have is the dot in
Is
here.
apostrophe? Or a vowel?
Ooh.
Okay,
We have a dot floating in the air.
I see.
So the olah spelled this way. So you have 2 vowels right next to each other. But ha is the definite article the. Olah is the actual noun. It is that which ascends. English we call it the burnt offering. But it's only what it means is that when it's burnt up, then the aroma ascends to God. It ascends before the Lord. So this is the word, basically the elevation or ascending offering. In English, it doesn't really make sense, the burnt offering. Well, it just tells you the procedure. But in Hebrew, it tells you the essence of what it's about. It's about an offering that goes up before God and ascends before His throne and enters His nostrils and is a sweet-smelling savor. Okay? So, does that answer your question on that? Yeah. You're going to have it, but it's not because 2 vowel points are next to each other. You actually had a consonant in between, so the vowel is connected to the next consonant, which can be used as the way Aleph was used. Just a vowel sound, because Aleph and Ein are silent. So there's no physical consonant letter that we could put there because it's silent. Okay? All right. Let's see how much time we have. Good. All right, so let's go ahead and erase the Olah. All right, so if we continue on after the be, we have on the next line, we have another letter bait. And we have the segol underneath. What sound is that?
A short bit.
A medium be, so we have be. Okay? Let's go ahead and change vowel sounds. Letter bait. One dot by itself, we should always think, what vowel? I vowel. Well, I by myself, I. So one dot is going to be pronounced E, because the I vowel is pronounced E. So we have I vowel pronounced as E. Remember, A, E, O, U. So here, we're going to actually spell it this way. You spell it like the vowel is known in English, because that's what you're using, English letters, to spell it out. You just need to know that that's B. Like if I say Birushalayim. Birushalayim is Yerushalayim with be in front of it, and the yud and the I collide and contract into just not be Yerushalayim, but Birushalayim. That means in Jerusalem. We say that in the blessing for the Torah possession, in Jerusalem. Right? Okay, so let's go to the next one. We have, again, the same vowel. We have the hirik, but we have a hirik yud. So, because this yud does not have a vowel underneath it, it's not a consonant. It's not really a Y. It's just a part of this I vowel. This is a combination of the hirik yud. So here, or what your book calls hirik yod, because they use the technically ancient biblical sounding, instead of yud that the Israelis use now, they say yod. It's all of it is to look like a yad, which is a hand, right? So this little hand, foot in the air, see, a hand. And so we have, again, what sound?
By.
No, not by. B. But it's B, long E sound. Okay? All right? The next one. Bait. Dot float in the air. What's this one? Bow. 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 Okay? How about the combination of bait with a vav and dot on top?
It's a long
Bow. Same. Bow. Check something real quick.
So what makes one bow different than the other is how it's going to be used.
So here you have the two. They're both considered long. So both of these are the same length.
They're long.
There is no difference on your end because it's not like you get to choose which one to use. Hebrew already has a set way of spelling every word. You need to know that the word that's already been created for us to read is going to have two forms. But you don't get to choose and say, well, today I want to do it with a vav, and the other day I want to do it with just a dot. You don't get that choice. It's already set in stone. Just like when I spelled out ha'olah, I put the vav in there, but something in my gut told me, no, I don't think there's a vav in there. When I went back to the Torah, I saw how it's originally written in the Torah. There's no vav. It would just be the markings of the scribe to put the dot floating in the air for the reader to know. In the scroll, you'll never see it. I would have to just know from studying and reading it and chanting it over and over again, like a child learns over and over again through repetition, that that's how it's pronounced. In most Tanakhs, which is a Hebrew Bible, sometimes with commentary, the Tanakh, the Hebrew scriptures, will have the vowel points. Most Hebrew Bibles will have the vowel points because it's for learners. Hebrew lessons, will, like this, will have a vowel point because it's for learning. Okay? Any questions? Question?
The symbol,
Give me your name again.
Sharina.
Sharina.
Sharina,
Sharina.
yes,
Oh, like the Serena, but with the H,
right.
like the tennis player.
Yes.
Okay, I'll remember. Now that I'll remember. Okay. Now go ahead. What's your question?
Okay, the symbol that looks like a hand,
Okay, the
What's
Yud.
that?
That's the 10th letter of the Hebrew alphabet. That's listed on your list there.
it's a bigger one.
What's a bigger one?
The vav.
You mean
The
the
vav.
vav here?
Not this one. This symbol here.
Oh, that's the B.
Oh, that's not a symbol. That's the Hebrew second letter of the Hebrew alphabet. So if you look on your list of Hebrew letters, the one you'd use to pronounce, that's the second letter of the Hebrew alphabet, the letter Beit. So the alphabet is the Aleph Beit. The Greeks took those first two letters, and made alphabet because they took Aleph and put an A and made Alpha, and they took the letter bait and put an A and made beta. So that's where we get the grocery store that used to be in existence, Alpha Beta, or we get alphabet, because we took it from the Greeks, the Greek took it from the Hebrew or Semitic peoples. Okay, so these are the first two letters in Hebrew. Why do they call it the Aleph Beit? Well, it's just like when we say in English, the ABCs. Well, I'm going to teach my daughter the ABCs. In Hebrew, they don't say ABCs, they just say the A's and the B's. The ABs, the Aleph Beit. And that's how we get the term alphabet.
It can be written both ways.
When you say both
Without
ways.
or without, and it's still
Okay.
the second letter of the alphabet.
It's still the second letter of the alphabet. If I remove that, it changes that to a V sound. So the same letter can have two different sounds, but that's the way Hebrew works. Letters can have various sounds, just like we said the letter Vav can have various sounds based upon the dot. Okay, and there are rules with the dagesh. The dagesh has certain rules. In this case, all it does is either intensify a strong V or soften it to be a V sound. Same thing happens in Spanish, though. A lot of letters either, especially when you take it across countries, la lluvia becomes la lluvia or la lluvia. It changes sound. If you go from Spain to Mexico to Puerto Rico to Argentina, you'll hear the sound change. Okay? So the same thing with Hebrew. Any other questions? All right, I think we got room for a couple more. Let's go ahead and do... Did I skip? Let's put like my letters
You
on.
need the U. The U.
You know what?
With the,
Oh, I see what I did. Instead of putting this one here, putting this one on the next line, I had moved it over. Okay. Yeah, so I'm off a little bit on my lines, but that's okay to what you're looking at. So let's just put it here. What's that? Well, it's an U vowel, but spell it out.
U.
Boo. Not the U. Boo. Right? Boo. So it's boo versus we here have bo, and this is boo. Boo. Okay. What if we let's do on the same line. I'm just going to put it here so I can even up this score a little bit. Well, really, it's not evening, but if I have the dot here, after on the side of the vav, what do we have? Now we have a long boo. Boo. We have boo and boo. Boo and boo. Okay? Okay, now we're going to change up again. We're going to do no dagesh, and we're going to put a patach there. What do we have now?
Ava.
Va. Right? We have we actually have va. Va. And then we do the long one. Again, we have va, but we have va. Long va. Okay? And let's do different va sound. We're going to do va. What changed it? There was no dagesh. There was no dagesh there, so all of a sudden we changed from a B to a V sound. So all the same rules work the same with the vowels, just the difference of we have a change in the sound of the consonant. Okay, so then we move to the E vowel. Pronounce the difference between these two. We have the bait without the dagesh, which is veit, the V sound. Oh, I did
It's a V.
spell it
It's a
wrong.
V.
So we have VE as the Hebrewish pronunciation of it, or spelling of it. And so we have
A V.
ve and ve. Ve and ve. Okay?
So confusing.
It's confusing?
No.
You know what you all need to do is practice writing this every day.
Right.
From right to left, think of what's the longest to the shortest, and then you'll always remember the one that looks like a T is longest. The one that looks like two dots side by side is longest. Everything else starts shortening. You have to just think that you have to practice writing it from right to left so that you remember. What I remember in my brain is on the far right is the longest possible vowel sound. Okay? So let's do the next ones. We have these two. You tell me what to put underneath.
E.
Tell me what to put underneath.
I.
Tell me what to put underneath.
V.
V. Tell me first thing first. You got to need a V.
And
Now what
I.
vowel?
I.
I.
E.
Same thing here, correct?
Right.
V. So which one is which? Don't confuse those two dots. Which one is long, which one's short?
First one's long.
They look the same.
Or is it the same? You tell me.
They look the same.
The first one is short.
Someone tell me from your list which is which. I want someone
Oh, I
definitely
didn't
knows.
see the
Short and long.
See, the E is long.
With
The
the-
second
with
one.
Okay, so here we have what I would call medium. Your book calls short.
Short.
Medium and long. So
Long.
here we have V and we have V.
E.
All right.
Long.
Yeah, the little U stretches it out. Just imagine the
Right.
hands pulling it out.
Right.
Okay? And then we have fate with the O floating in the air. Pronounce that for me.
Vowel.
Go. Okay? We could also do the letter fate, the vav,
Wow. And
Uh,
Voo.
and we're going to go vo versus vo.
Voo.
Vo and vo. Vo and vo. Okay? All right, let's go ahead and stop there. I'm going to actually give you a few extra lessons for you to take home, and this is your homework. You got to turn it in, okay? I'm going to start this way. Everyone get one that starts with the letter Gimel. Then I'm going to start back here with you guys, and you'll pass it up this way. Everyone gets one with that letter Vav there. Okay? So just hand him one. Just hand. Did you give one to
No.
Virginia?
I got one.
Virginia needs one.
Well, I tell you something, I can't get one.
Okay, so you guys go ahead and work that out. We're going to close in prayer, so we'll hand that out at the end. Okay? All right, let's go ahead and close. Avinu Malkeinu, our Father and our King, we thank you, Abba, for blessing us with the ability to now finally pronounce and write the consonant plus vowel instruction of making syllables and pronouncing syllables. And we pray, Lord God, we'll be able to use these formulas of C plus V equals open and C plus V plus C equals closed. And you'll teach us how to pronounce these syllables so we can then learn how to pronounce words. And we thank you for blessing us with this wisdom and this application in Yeshua's name. Amen. God bless you guys.